Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Anupetya Apetya Krityam Tapaino Viraha Gatara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Tadavo Benedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridayam Muninanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshay Kiptastakamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitram Sharanam Papana Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Tave Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vinam Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we're going to continue hearing the Krsna Book, Srila Prabhupada's Krsna Book, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chapter about Krishna blessing the wives of the Brahmanas. I think it's chapter 23. So, the cowherd boys now have gone to see the wives of the Brahmanas. And they were so happy. As soon as they heard Krishna's name, immediately their love expanded and their desire increased to such an extent. They immediately began to gather food, put it in bowls and plates and pots. And despite the attempts at their husbands and fathers and mothers and sons and whoever, right? Everyone's trying to stop them, and they would not be stopped. And they entered into the forest of Vrindavan. We heard in the other descriptions that they followed the cowherd boys. The cowherd boys led the way, singing and dancing, and they were carrying their pots behind, just all the time meditating deeply, deeply on Krishna. And now we left off where they enter into that forest area on the bank of the Jamuna, verdant with vegetation and newly grown vines and flowers. And within that forest, they saw Krishna and Balaram engaged in tending the cows along with their very affectionate boyfriends. So begging the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and our Guru Varga, we continue recitation of Srila Prabhupada's beautiful, beautiful Krsna book. Whoops, make sure this isn't about our... oh, no, something else. Okay. So, what did they see? The Brahmanas' wives saw Krishna with a blackish complexion, wearing a garment that glittered like gold. He wore a nice garland of forest flowers and a peacock feather on his head. You know, when you read Srila Prabhupada's writing, you can picture him speaking. That's how he spoke. He wore a nice garland. Very sweet descriptions that he would give. A nice garland of forest flowers and a peacock feather on his head. He was also painted with the minerals found in Vrindavan. And he looked exactly like a dancing actor on a theatrical stage. They saw him resting one hand on the shoulder of his friend and in the other hand he was holding a lotus flower. His ears were decorated with lilies. He wore marks of tilak, and he was smiling charmingly. With their very eyes, the wives of the Brahmanas saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of whom they had heard so much, who was so dear to them, and in whom their minds were always absorbed. Now they saw him eye to eye and face to face, and Krishna entered within their hearts through their eyes. Ooh. Similar description earlier. So nice. There is a recording taken from Srila Prabhupada's dictation. He had this thing called a dictaphone, which was the technology of the time. It was sort of like a tape player, but it had a wider band, and you would press a button, and then you could talk, and then when you take it off, you would stop. And so he'd take it up, and he'd begin talking, and then he would stop, lift it, and so the recording starts and stops like that. Click, 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 click. And also, I don't know what the word is for pictures, it's resolution. I don't know what it is for audio, but it's not very good. I had it, and I was very eager to listen to Srila Prabhupada narrating this Krishna book. But it didn't come out very well. Maybe by now, maybe they have a cleaned up version. That would be really great to have that. I mean, that's Srila Prabhupada basically narrating Srimad Bhagavatam from beginning to end. Oh, and narrating while he's in this deep meditation on fulfilling the order of his Guru Maharaj to give these books to the English-speaking world, right? And deep on meditation on Krishna, who is empowering him to do it. I'm sure they must have it now. Anyway, I digress. So now these wives of the Brahmanas, after meditating and keeping Krishna in their heart for so long, now they're getting what's called sakshat darshan. There's different kinds of darshan, right? There's spurti, right? Where you may get a temporary vision, right, before you. And then there's svapna darshan, where you may see something in a dream. And then there's sakshat darshan, where directly before your eyes. This is the highest in some ways, because it can only be done. You can only see Brajendra Nandan Sri Krishna in Vrindavan with sakshat darshan, because he never leaves Vrindavan. That's the only place he is, right? So there they were. They had to cross the border. They went to Vrindavan, and now they're seeing Krishna eye to eye, face to face. Within themselves, they began to embrace Krishna to their heart's content, right? They've pulled him into their hearts through their eyes, that form, that Krishna. And the distress of separation was mitigated immediately. They were just like great sages, who by their advancement of knowledge merge into the existence of the Supreme. As the Supersoul living in everyone's heart, Lord Krishna could understand their minds. They had come to him, despite all the protests of their relatives, fathers, husbands, and brothers, and despite all the duties of household affairs. They came just to see him, who was their life and soul. They were exactly following Krishna's instruction in the Bhagavad Gita. One should surrender to him, giving up all varieties of occupational and religious duties. The last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, right? Sarva dharmam parijagya. When it says give up all manners of religion, in the earlier day we were thinking, okay, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, but what he means really is all the duties, social obligations in Varnashram society. Duties to family and it wasn't just, we were thinking, give up everything and join the Krishna conscious movement. No, it's more than that. More than that. Give up every nimitic consideration and only embrace direct, fully surrendered service to the Supreme Lord. And even if you give up all the other duties, if you're fully surrendered to him, you're completely protected. Right? But I was just hearing in Jaiva Dharma, in the debate in chapter 6, that Sannyasi Thakur, I guess he's Vaishnav Das by this time, he is saying that grihastas, they still have to follow the rule, if grihasta Vaishnavas still have to follow the rules and regulations of Varnashram in their daily engagements within society. Only the Nirapeksha Vaishnavas, and you could be a Nirapeksha grihasta, but you have to be Nirapeksha to completely abandon all those duties, right? Otherwise, society falls apart, right? Yad yada chariti shreshtashtha tadeve tarojana, whatever great persons, high-class persons, natural leaders do, people will follow, right? So even high-class Vaishnavas still generally follow very nicely the rules and regulations of society to set an example for others. But when it comes to the choice, like Arjuna had, between surrendering to Krishna and thus having to fight with his relatives, kill his friends and cousins and everything else, Krishna's saying, I already decided this. It's going to happen. You can be my instrument, or you can be outside of my desire. But don't worry, if you surrender to me and simply fulfill my will, then there will be no negative reaction. And this is what's going to happen with these wives. They're thinking that, remember they said, we can't go back now. Krishna's saying, yes, you can. Because you completely surrendered to me, I will make arrangements that you can go back. Anyway, let's hear how Srila Prabhupada describes this. So now, they had come to that point, right? Completely surrendered, right? Anukulyasya, sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam, giving up everything unfavorable for service to Krishna, even family members, and embracing only that which was favorable. And completely in their heart, right? Rakshashita divishvasho, gopradve varanam tata. Krishna is our only maintainer, our only protector, our only object of worship. Right? And then Atmanikshepa Karpanye, fully surrendered and fully humble. So here they are. He therefore began to speak to them, smiling very magnificently. It should be noted in this connection that when Krishna entered into the wives' hearts, and when they embraced him and felt the transcendental bliss of being merged with him, the Supreme Lord Krishna did not lose his identity, nor did the individual wives lose theirs. The individuality of both the Lord and the wives remained, yet they felt oneness in existence. So this is the speciality of the Vaishnava conception and the real understanding of love, right? Because sometimes we hear about Radha and Krishna. Srimati Radhika describes to Krishna himself, disguised as a heavenly damsel, how she and Krishna become one and even forget themselves. But Srila Prabhupada says the individuality of both the Lord and the wives remained, yet they felt oneness in existence. When a lover submits to his lover without any pinch of personal consideration, that is called oneness. So he uses the his, even when Krishna submits to his devotees. He will also not have a pinch of personal consideration. He's fully surrendered to Radhika. Radhika's fully surrendered to him. There's actually competition. There's none of the... in material love, there's always the idea of exploitation enters into it. Or one person is higher and the other person is lower, right? Somehow or other, one is a greater beneficiary of service than the other. But in pure love, the greater the mood of surrender and sacrifice and service, the actual greater the happiness and ecstasy. And this Krishna himself reveals in the 4th chapter of the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. I am seeing that even though I am the reservoir of all service from all my devotees and all my expansions, yet my gopis and Srimati Radhika, they are experiencing a happiness which I cannot understand and which exceeds my own, right? It exceeds my own happiness by magnitudes I can't understand. So I want to know what it's like to be the devotee. See, this is what the Gaudiya Vaishnava conception reveals. Something about that highest platform of love. The greater the surrender, the greater the opportunity to unite with Krishna and to unite fully, in other words, to fully understand his desires and moods, and then to be fully capable of fulfilling those desires. That's the greatest position. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings about that. Where? Oh, the book's gone. Okay. So, Lord Chaitanya, so when a lover submits to his lover without any pinch of personal consideration, that is called oneness. Lord Chaitanya has taught us this feeling of oneness in his Shastaka. Krishna may act freely, doing whatever he likes, but the devotee should always be in oneness or in agreement with his desires. That oneness was exhibited by the wives of the Brahmanas in their love for Krishna. Yes, Krishna, you may be a lumpat, a cheater, a dacoit, a debauchee, whatever. I just want to do whatever makes you happy. This is Mahaprabhu's own mood, that it's like a prayer of Srimati Radhika. He's tasting that mood, and in that, one of his 8 descriptions of pure bhakti, he's expressing this highest platform of joy and existence. Krishna welcomed them with the following words. My dear wives of the Brahmanas, you are all very fortunate and are welcome here. Please let me know what I can do for you. Your coming here to see me, neglecting all the restrictions and hindrances of relatives, fathers, brothers, and husbands, is completely befitting. One who does this actually knows his self-interest, because rendering transcendental loving service unto me without motive or restriction is actually auspicious for the living entities. Exactly what Rupa Goswami reveals to us. Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. Rendering transcendental loving service without motive, without restriction, in a completely loving, favorable mood, unbroken, like a stream of fragrant oil from a jar, always for the benefit of Krishna. Lord Krishna here confirms that the conditioned soul can reach the highest perfectional stage by surrendering to him. See, we're trying. He's explaining to us, Srila Prabhupada's explaining to us how and what it means to enter into the kingdom of God. That's what Krishna is saying. Into the kingdom of God. We fight against the path, right? The surrender. We hold on to our separate interests, the desires of the mind and the senses, the body, right? We're so conditioned by ahankara, false ego, to think that this is us. We can't separate the pushings, the yearnings of the senses and the mind and the contaminated intelligence from our real self. We've not awakened our real self yet, so we fight against that. That's why sadhana bhakti aligns us with the interests of the Supreme. So we should not fight against that. We should always try to study, what can I do at every moment? Why am I always engaged in separate interests? He says, the conditioned soul. Lord Krishna confirms that the conditioned soul can reach the highest perfectional stage by surrendering to him. One must give up all other responsibilities. This complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the most auspicious path for the conditioned soul, because the Supreme Lord is the supreme objective of love. Supreme Lord is the supreme objective of love. Not ourselves. We're used to putting ourselves, everyone should love me, everyone should serve me, everyone should do for me. That's the reverse. That is the nature of ahankara, false ego. Ahang, me, kara, the doer, the controller, right? Krishna is the Purush, the controller. Ahankara falsely makes us think that we are that object, that we are the Vishaya, the object of all this. And we become distressed. Why are they not serving me? Why are they not doing this for me? Oh, they're doing so much for that person. What about me? What about me? If we have our relationship with Krishna, we don't need anything else. He says, the Supreme Lord is the supreme objective of love. If we unite with the supreme objective of love, there's nothing else to accomplish. Everyone is loving his self according to the advancement of his knowledge. Ultimately, when a person comes to understand that his self is the spirit soul, and the spirit soul is nothing but a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, he recognizes the Supreme Lord as the ultimate goal of love, and then surrenders unto him. Right? That's why Krishna explains in the verse just before Sarvadharmam, he cites Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Right? These are 4 levels of understanding oneself and surrender. Right? Man mana bhava is the highest. That means to be always focused on Krishna with one's mind and heart in deep love. Right? Like the gopis. But if you can't do that, mad bhakto, become my devotee, right? Engage in sadhana very diligently, right? If you can't do that, mam namaskuru, at least acknowledge me as God and offer obeisance, right? Like in Varnashram, I'm doing this yajna, it's all for God, right? And then I get the result. There was this one time, there was this Indian fellow, he was, everything I do is for the God. Right? And there was a big lottery that was taking place. True story, And he's praying. Oh, my Lord, please let me win this lottery. I will give you half. I'll give you half. You can do everything, Then so much seva. He will build temples and all for you. Just let me win. I will give you half. And so he prays like this all day, every day. Weeks and weeks leading up to the result of the lottery, right? Finally it comes. And he gets the ticket. And he didn't win. The big lottery was like, something like 10 or 20 million, whatever it was, right? And he got half that. And he looked at the ticket. Half? I'm supposed to get 20. It's only 10. And he goes, oh, my Lord, you are so clever. You knew I might cheat you, so you took your half in advance. So that's us. We put ourselves first, right? And it's all conditional. You give me, I give you. Like in Tirupati, famous temple, Balaji, right? It's the richest temple in India. And now the government's taking control, and they take all the, most of the money. And then the temple guys in charge, like the person ultimately in charge is the prime minister of that state. And so he uses it for public works. But the public works, the contracts he gives to his relatives. The roads, the sewers, the building, all that, right? Relatives and friends. So very corrupt. But everybody goes there and they offer great wealth to Balaji. They put suitcases of rupees, their jewelry, whatever it is, and they're praying for reciprocation. I'm giving you this, then you give me that, right? Women even cut off their hair, all their hair, and give it, and that way they sell it and make money. So that deity, the reason is there's a tradition that Krishna incarnated that deity of Balaji Venkateshwara. He appeared many years ago and he had to get married and didn't have any money, so he took a loan from Kuvera. And so in order to pay back, everybody's giving him donations so he can pay back his loan, right? It's a pastime, you know? And so that deity, though, if you go before him, his eyes are closed or almost closed. And there's a story, I think it was with Narad, or one of his devotees, and asked, why are your eyes closed? Because I can't bear to see all these people. They only come to me for material things. Oh, give me this, give me that. No one is coming for pure bhakti, so I have to close my eyes, you know. So, right, so, but in fact, if we understand ourselves as spirit, soul, and not this body, and the needs of the soul are different from the needs of the body. The completion, the fulfillment, the happiness of the soul comes in uniting completely in selfless love, right? And at the Supreme Lord, he is the Vishaya. Srila Prabhupada says the Supreme Lord is the ultimate goal of love, and we should surrender to him. This surrender is considered auspicious for the conditioned soul. Our life, property, home, wife, children, house, country, society, and all paraphernalia, which are very dear to us, are expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's all his energy. He has his internal spiritual energy, the Srup Shakti, and then he has the expansion of that, the Maya Shakti. All of this is his energy. He is the central object of love because he gives us all bliss, expanding himself in so many ways according to our different situations, namely bodily, mental, or spiritual. So is the bliss we seek mental, is it physical, or is it spiritual? He said earlier that everyone is loving his self according to advancement of his knowledge. We talk about dharma, right? He said sarva dharmam parijagya. There are two kinds of dharma. There's varna ashram dharma, the dharma of this world that regulates us in such a way that we can make gradual advancement, establishes our duties and responsibilities within the greater worldly society. And then there's Jaiva Dharma, the Dharma of the soul, right? Sanatan Dharma, Nitya Dharma, eternal Dharma. Right? And so according to our level of understanding, we're going to be engaged, because Dharma has four features. It has truth, it has, which is satyam, it has ahimsa, which is nonviolence and respect, it has shocham, which is cleanliness, and it has tapasya, which is discipline or austerity. But it all, so your conception of cleanliness, is it physical, or is it more than that? Is it cleanliness of the mind, or is it cleanliness of the soul? Right? Tapasya, discipline. Are you disciplined in your worldly activities, your self-interest? Are you disciplined in your sadhana? Right? And ahimsa, you're non-violent. What does that mean? Respect for other living entities. These three, cleanliness, ahimsa, non-violence, or respect for other living beings, and discipline and austerity, renunciation, they're dependent upon satyam, which is your conception of truth. Truth means, what's the truth? Who am I, really? What's my identity? According to my level of understanding of my identity, that's going to affect these three other things, right? These three other things. So if I think I'm this body, I'm going to act in a certain way. And that's going to be reflected in my, what I consider to be clean, appropriate, respectful to others, and what I should be disciplined in. If I think I'm the mind, I may have a more subtle and higher, more sattvic conception, but still material. It's only when you come to really embracing and understanding the spiritual identity that your activities and your awareness of what is really beneficial for yourself and for others takes shape, right? So he says Krishna is the central object of love because he gives us all bliss, expanding himself in so many ways according to our different situations, namely bodily, mental, or spiritual. Right? So Krishna then, oops, I think that's where we have to leave off. Let me see here. Oh yeah, that's where we stop. Now Krishna's going to speak to them. Whoops, not that. I got all these windows here. I'm trying to, where am I? I'm here. So Krishna's going to say, my dear wives of the Brahmanas, you can now return to your homes. What? Engage yourselves in sacrificial activities and in the service of your husbands and household affairs, so that your husbands will be pleased with you and the sacrifice which they have begun will be properly executed. They've given up that level of dharma, and he's sending them back to it. What's going to happen to their bhakti? Why is he doing that? After all, your husbands are householders, and without your help, how can they execute their prescribed duties? Now, they're going to reply, oh, this sort of instruction does not befit you, our dear Lord. Your eternal promise is that you will always protect your devotees, and now you must fulfill that promise. So, how is he going to reconcile this? For them and for us. That is what we're going to find out tomorrow. We've heard this, but I'm really appreciating Srila Prabhupada's very clear way of explaining this. It's quite wonderful. Okay, so we'll stop here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his magnificent Krsna book. All glories to Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Raj. All glories to our Rupanuga, Guru Varga, Guru Parampara. All glories to all the assembled devotees. Hari Bol, Hari Bol.